If you're moving to San Diego and you want land, you want privacy, you want that coastal lifestyle, this might be the spot you didn't even know to search for. So today we are in a Livin, tucked away little area of Encinitas where it's a little bit more of that country living than that coastal suburb. And out here, you're looking at larger lots, you're looking at custom homes, you're looking at horse properties, you're looking at a little bit more space. And it's not only that, yeah, you're a little bit further out here, but you're also minutes from great schools, you're also minutes from shopping. And later on, we're gonna show you exactly how far you are to the beach. And this is one of those neighborhoods that people relocating out here or moving around San Diego don't necessarily find too much because it's not one of these master plan communities. It's not a ton of tract homes. It's like a lot of these custom homes, and it lives a little bit differently than a lot of other areas of San Diego. So today we're gonna show you what it's really like to live here, who this neighborhood might be perfect for, and a few other things that you gotta know before you start your search right here in the Livin.
So if you're thinking about moving here to a Livin, you wanna know what the housing's like, right? So this is the first neighborhood of a couple that we're gonna show you today. They all have the same, somewhat of the same feel. They each have their own pros and cons, but they're all gonna give you space. They're all gonna give you big front yards, like you can see in the house behind us, big backyards, separation between your neighbors, and that custom feel, which is what Livin is most known for, is just kind of that custom feel to the neighborhood. So I grew up out here in the Livin and I loved it. We spent most of our time outside exploring either in our yards, which were huge, or just like the canyon areas, which is a little less of than when I was a kid, but still a lot to explore out here. We're looking at tire swings over here. A lot of these homes have really cool amenities within the lots too, just to keep everybody occupied. So that's a big reason I loved living out here. I did not like how far away it was from my friends, but that was just kind of a sacrifice for living out and having kind of your own space on your own lot. And then what you're getting square footage wise or just house wise out here is bigger footprint, like I said, bigger lot, but bigger houses as well. So 3,000 square feet is kind of the minimum out here. There are a couple outliers there, but a lot of 3,000 square foot plus, a lot of 3-car, 4-car garages, which I know a lot of people really like out here. But some of the trade-offs are also that you're further away from infrastructure. So here we are, we're off Coal Ranch Road is right up the hill here. We're the furthest west you get in the Livin, so we're the closest to a lot of the infrastructure. We're gonna show you a really cool center that's just around the corner from here that has a lot of the amenities that you need on a daily basis. And then we're gonna show you a little bit more about distances between the different neighborhoods too.
So right now we're standing in like one of the only bigger shopping centers, infrastructure right next to a Livin. So it's actually called the Ranch at Rancho Santa Fe, but we call it Harvest Ranch Center because Harvest Ranch, it's a cool little local shopping center right here. You get all your groceries, right? You get all your main stuff. You get some poultry, you get some fish, you get some sandwiches, you get all kinds of stuff in there. So it's easy access to a lot of these little Livin places. And we always like to say Livin's kind of like a smaller Rancho Santa Fe, because Rancho Santa Fe is literally like right next door, but Livin, a little bit smaller footprint, a little bit more bang for your buck. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. But right here in the center, there's actually a lot going on. We just walked by a place, it's called Coffee Dose. It's a brunch spot coming here pretty soon. And there's also a Pilates spot that's opening up right here. But there's some old favorites too, like Harvest Ranch, the market, right? That's a cool little spot. They have Champagne Bakery right here. It's on it's a Wednesday at like 1, still pretty packed. Get some coffee, get some pastries. Over right across here, there's an awesome little Italian joint that actually I met the cameraman, Casti. This is the first time we met. I was at dinner with my wife. He was at dinner with his wife. We met up. We started our real estate journey right there. But there's that over there. There's a cool little wine shop over here. So if you got a wine, they used to have where you go taste in there as well. So not a ton. It's not huge, but it is. You just need little strike missions to go grab something from the store. You go right here. We're gonna show you later, and we're gonna time it out to see actually how long it is from some of the Livin places to like the main strip in Encinitas where you have El Camino Real. That's where you have all the other shopping centers. That's where you're gonna find your Sprouts, your Trader Joe's, all the other grocery stores, Target at the other end. You need to do a little DIY at your house, need to grab some, Home Depot at the other side. So all that is not too far away from here, but this is like a quick little spot, easy little spot, and a great little, not addition, I guess a great little amenity to have right here in a Livin.
So one of the trade-offs of living in a Livin, when you're a little bit further out, you get that privacy and all that, it's a little harder to get to stuff. And not just because you're far out, but because there's only one main road that kind of takes you into a Livin, and that's Rancho Santa Fe Road, which we're driving on right now. And there's, what, 4 stop signs, I think, that slow all of this down, which is great because you don't have anybody speeding through here. But during school drop-offs, school pickups, rush hour times, this does tend to back up quite a bit. And as the Livin has grown over the last bunch of years, the traffic's just gotten a little bit worse. If you time it right, it's not that hard to get to stuff. If you have to drive through the traffic, it's not the end of the world. This isn't LA. We're not taking an hour to get out to stuff. It's just gonna take you a little bit longer. They are building, we just passed it, a new apartment complex, which is the only one out here. There's only a townhomes off of one street, so there's not very much multifamily housing out here at all. Actually, that's 99.9% is the one that's being built now. So it's all detached houses. So there's not a ton of people out here. It just tends to get crowded in those kind of heavy drive times.
Neighborhood 2 in Livin, similar to the other one, big yards, all that kind of stuff. The third neighborhood we're gonna show you, we're actually gonna show you a house that's on the market right now. We're gonna get into price points and a typical house is what you're gonna find out here. So stay tuned for that. But up here, we're in that central area. So we're not way back where we're gonna cover next. We're not at that first neighborhood, which is a little more convenient. We're probably about 5 minutes in between those. Out here, you start getting into some rolling hills. So some of these neighborhoods, you got hills, you got a little bit tiered here and there, where the first neighborhood's pretty flat. Here, you get a little bit of up and down. You guys can't see it back here, but we have some houses on the hill up here. This one's set down a little bit. Houses behind where Cassie's filming right here. So you get, some do have these awesome views out here. And we did mention peace and quiet out here, which is why a lot of people do like it out here. One thing that you are going to get, since you have a lot of land, since you have a lot of space, you are going to have a landscaper. So that's one of the things, as we're even driving through this neighborhood here, we're hearing landscaping going on. We're hearing blowers going all over the place. You're going to hear lawnmowers, trimming trees, cutting trees, palm trees, trimming those. So it's just a lot of maintenance, obviously, on when you have this much space, right? So just be prepared for that when you do move out here. One other thing out here, back to the peace and quiet. And, you know, as you're moving out here, you're a little bit further from everything else, from like a typical master plan community. Not too many of those sidewalks. There's walkability though, which I'm gonna show you one of my favorite parts. We'll show you that next. One of my favorite parts of a Livin out here. But you'll find little sidewalks here and there, but there's not a ton. There's also not a ton of street lights and stuff like that. It's a dark sky policy out here. So you're gonna find it a little bit darker than other areas. So stars are gonna be a little bit brighter out here. But like I said, it's not necessarily built for put the baby in a stroller, you're gonna go for a little walk, a little stroll around the neighborhood. And since this neighborhood does have a little history, it's been here for a long time, you're gonna find some older homes. A lot of the homes, you know, in that 80s kind of is when a lot of this got built out. When Cassie lived out here, there was a lot less homes out here. Since then, some of these some of the communities have been built out since then. So a little bit less of that where it was just like a canyon before, a little bit open space. But with that, even driving in through this neighborhood right now where we just came in, there's a lot of remodeling going on. So full gut jobs, there was a roof being redone, there was some electrical work going on. So there is opportunity to, if you want a little, you know, customize your own house and you find one of those homes that does need a little bit of work, you get out here, fix it up, remodel the whole thing. And then on the other spectrum, there's already homes that have been completely remodeled. So move-in ready, don't touch a thing. Obviously you're gonna be paying a little bit of a premium, but there's a few different options on that front. Now we're at one of my favorite parts of Livin. Now, what it lacks in parks, you don't really have parks out here. You know, that's more as you go towards central Encinitas, towards those areas, community parks, etc. But you do have a ton of trails. So I live over in Encinitas and I utilize these trails a ton, and I have ran out here, I don't know how many times, and I'm always finding like new little trails, new little ways to get around, new little ways that connect around these neighborhoods. And they're nice. Most of them are wide, like kind of this one we are on right now, because a lot of them are built for equestrian. So as you're cruising around, you might actually, when I'm running sometimes, I might have to stop because there's some, you know, a few horses coming my way, a few people riding some horses. So you will find that little equestrian vibe out here as well. Also, a lot of these homes, you know, Cassie mentioned it earlier, but you have, like I said, lacking parks and stuff out here, but you have a lot of entertainment on your own property where you have pools, you have tennis courts, you have pickleball courts, you have, these guys have like a mini soccer field set up right over here. I've been running over in a different part of Livin, and they have little, kind of like a little chipping course right there. Somebody had like a miniature skate park in their backyard. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you could do out here with this much space. And these trails just kind of tie it all together and give you another way to get outside and enjoy you know, what you're moving out here for San Diego for. Get outside, enjoy that San Diego air.
Now we're way out here in the Livin kind of at the end, and this is what you're gonna find. So as soon as you get past some of those kind of middle areas, you're gonna be finding a whole ton of gated neighborhoods. So we're in Dove Hollow now. You have Double L Ranch, you have Knightsbridge, you have the gated neighborhood off of Coppercrest. There are a ton of homes out here, and this is pretty much what you're getting. Wide open space, big 2-acre minimum lots for the most part out here. Livin, except for a couple little special spots, are 2-acre minimums, and that's what you're finding a lot out here. We've got, just behind us, you've got tennis courts, you've got pools. Chris talked about all of that, but you also have citrus groves, you have avocado groves out here. I've seen a couple of little mini vineyards. So with all this land, you have a lot of things that you can do with it, or just enjoy kind of that open space too. Out here too, there is a gated neighborhood with 24-hour security called Wildflower. Huge properties. I mean, this is like where you're finding the $12, $14 million houses out here in Livin, 6,500 square foot and bigger, and just a lot of really cool infrastructure on your property as well. So we've showed you all these houses. What do they cost? Chris is gonna put the camera down right now and go back to the studio and show you prototypical house here in Livin looks like.
So here we are out in Livin. The house we're gonna show you actually right now is in one of those eastern sections of Livin. So it's a little bit further out there as you go through the main drag that we talk about. Here's one of the main roads, Lone Jack going through, and then the other one as you connect down to Rancho Santa Fe, this is the other main road. So this right here is where you're gonna get access to the Home Depot, Target, that whole area. And then if you come out this way, this is where that shopping center is, Harvest Ranch. So this house is one of the further neighborhoods. It is a gated community, but let's check out what you get out there. All right, so we're looking at this property. We're gonna show you pictures, and this is a typical property in some of the stuff you see out in Livin. Priced just under $5 million, 6-bed, 5.5 bath, about 5,700 square foot, and you're looking at that 2-acre lot, which we see a lot of out there. A lot of these lots are about this size. So what's this property all about, and what's a Livin all about? You have the big house right here. You have the smaller detached house over this way with its own driveway. So all the square footage is included in that. You have the pool, but let's go through some of the pictures. So a nice big backyard, a lot of privacy out here, a lot of pools. Depending on when the homes were built too, is going to dictate, like some of these homes, like we mentioned, are gonna be older homes. This has been recently remodeled, but you got a lot of room right out this way as we're going through. Nice big driveways, 3-car garages, and as far as styles go, a lot of custom out here. So it just depends on who was the builder, when they built the homes, and how recently they have been remodeled to give you the condition. This one is fairly dialed in. Big old kitchens is what you find a lot. You have multiple eating areas. You have nice wide open. It kind of connects to the other rooms as well. And this one happens to be a 2-story, but you'll find plenty of those ranch style homes as well, larger 1-story homes. So big entryways going through, nice big great room here with the fireplace going in there, separate dining room, a little breakfast nook, and then some redone bathrooms. As we go through all the pictures, you'll see plenty of room here. Here is the laundry room. So this home happens to have its own little laundry room, multiple laundry washers, you know, a ton of storage. And with this kind of square footage out in Livin, that's kind of what you get. Here's a nice little office setup, view of the bedrooms, another living room right over here. This is the one right off the kitchen here. And as we go through, I just want to show you some of the backyard as well. Nice large primary suite. And it's funny here, even in San Diego, even though it doesn't get that cold that often, you'll find fireplaces here a lot of times. So I'm actually remodeling my home right now in Encinitas, and we have a fireplace. We're just going to put in electric because that wood burning we didn't use too often. But it's funny, even though it might only get used a few times a year, a lot of homes have fireplaces out here in San Diego. So let's get us to the backyard to show you some of that outdoor space. A lot of Livin, you're gonna find a lot of different areas, a lot of different entertainment areas, or, you know, this one doesn't have it, but sometimes you're gonna find pickleball courts or tennis courts or basketball courts, or, you know, those sport courts. Sometimes you're gonna find big pools, vanishing edge pools. This has a nice little rose garden, a few different seating areas, a bigger pool with the elevated spa right here. Going through another little kind of area just to go hang out. Then you have this level right behind the spa. So you can see some distance from the house, because with that 2 acres, what do you get? You get some space, you get some of that privacy, and a lot of different areas to relax, to let the kids run around, all that kind of stuff. So nice big lot here, or grass lawn rather. You do have your raised garden bed. We do have a little bit of a chicken coop going on here, so you will find some chickens. Other areas you're going to find horses, and here is the guest house as well. So decent size on this as well. You got family in town, you want to rent this out. There's a bunch of different options you can do with the guest house out there. Not all homes are going to have a guest house, but a lot of the homes out here are going to have space for a guest house. And this one happens to be within one of the gated communities that we were showing. And since none of these are cookie cutter out here, this is a little spot where you can find some character. You can find something specific you are looking for. We've seen some weird funky houses that people love. We've seen some brand new modern houses that people love. So it really just depends on your style and what you're looking for you and your family.
Now, we mentioned if you're living out here, how far, you're a little bit further from everywhere. We're like one of the farthest neighborhoods, the gated neighborhood we just covered. But how far are you from the coast? Let's go check it out. And in between, we're going to show you how far we are from a little bit of infrastructure. We're going to chat a little bit about schools. So let's see how far we actually are from the coast right here. Let's go.
So one of the other really big bonuses of living out here in Livin is the schools. So Encinitas School District out here still in Livin. So from here you're feeding into Livin Pioneer Elementary, really highly rated school here, just a couple minutes away from a lot of these neighborhoods that we showed you today. And for middle school and high school, it's San Diego School District. Same thing. DeGano is just around the corner from here. La Costa Canyon is just a little bit further out, but also just highly regarded schools here in San Diego.
All right, so we're 10 minutes in right now. Now we're coming up on all the infrastructure. We're coming up on El Camino Real right now, where it's the main drag, right? That's where you're gonna find all the grocery stores, all that kind of stuff. We just passed Trader Joe's right back here. One of our favorite spots right back here, Brewer's Tap Room. So if you want a nice little spot with some local beers, you always got sports on, good little place. But we're gonna cross over El Camino Real. Now we're starting to get into a little bit of, more of that typical Encinitas, where you're gonna have everything you need right here. So, like I said, from the furthest part, that's basically where we just came from of Livin. We're at 11 minutes. Now, if you go down to the other side of El Camino Real, you could actually, the road we came out on, you could actually go out to the other side. It might be a little quicker if you're going to like the Targets or the Forum or a few of those shops over there. There's an Apple store. There's Henry, which is a new little restaurant over there. That's where the Home Depot is, over on that side. So anyways, within 15 minutes is where you're looking at to get into a lot of these spots, but onto the beach we go. It's almost 20 minutes on the dot. We made it to Moonlight Beach, straight shot down Encinitas Boulevard. A little bit of a hazy day here in North County, San Diego, but not too bad. The GPS at 23, we had some green lights. It was awesome. So 20 minutes to get down here, not too bad. Everywhere else you saw where we are, but if you guys are thinking about moving here, maybe it's a Livin. Maybe there's some other areas that we didn't mention on here you might want to know some more about. Definitely hit us up. We are a real estate crew right here in San Diego. Call, text, or email because we got you back when making the move here to San Diego.